First off, we will go on a journey into the past and go all the way to ancient Rome. The Roman Empire had mainly farmed wheat, barley, carrots, and other necessities such as those. The Roman people would also breed and care for large livestock, such as cattle, goats, and things such as those. Every Roman had a garden which had been called a hortus. In the hortus, they would plant items such as root plants and salads and potted herbs. Hortuses are expected to produce plants all year round, with nettles, asparagus, and mushrooms being the exception. The gardens were found near the farmhouse, so the woman could garden in between chores. The Romans tended to trade across seas to either Egypt or Africa. Because they traded across seas, they had to have something of value they would trade. They would trade wheat and barley. The social impacts had been that because they would have surpluses of wheat and barley, they would be able to trade with other places across the sea, such as Egypt, for other necessities that they would need. And with this trade, they would get to see other cultures which would have had an effect on the way they lived. The environmental impacts have been that they would deplete their water resources with agriculture, and they would destroy vast expanses of land with native species to create their own. So to conclude, the Romans' food production system could not be sustainable into the future, mainly because they are too dependent on surpluses of wheat and barley, so they couldn't trade, and because of this, they cannot continue for very long with this style of food production. Now I want to fast forward into present day France. The French had many different food production systems, yet the ones they are most famous for are their cheese production and their wine vineyards. While mainly focusing on is the cheese production system, the French had started to produce cheese due to the abundance of milk-producing livestock. The reason why they have a large variety of cheese is that France has a large expanse of land, and with that large expanse of land came different recipes for different styles of cheese. Overall, there are 374 varieties of cheese. The way they make cheese now on a large scale is by either having large plants where they milk either cows, goats, or sheep. First, they squirt milk into the cups to check for quality. Once they do this, they clean the area and begin milking. Once they get the milk, they take it to a steam-heated pasteurization tank. Once the milk is pasteurized, they add enzyme cultures. Next, they add rennet, diluted in water. Rennet is an extract from calf's stomach. It contains enzymes which curdle milk. Then the milk is allowed to ferment for 18 hours. After the 18 hours, there will be cheese curds in a lot of ways. Next, they place the curds into a cheesecloth bag and drain them for 18 hours. Finally, they add a percentage of salt to preserve it. In some areas, it will be rolled through different seasons. The social impacts are the communication between merchants and suppliers is enabled, as well as communication with the consumer. Because of this, they will be able to have a larger cultural impact with different ideals. The environmental impacts are that because of all the free-range milk-producing livestock, they have to have large expanses of land that is solely for them to feed. And because of this, they have to clear out large expanses of land to be able to feed while killing off native species in the process. As for economic impacts, the French spend little money on feed for their livestock due to them being free range. So to conclude, the French food production system is not currently sustainable due to all the free range livestock. If they were to have livestock corralled, then they could sustain themselves. But unfortunately, they do not. Therefore, their system is not sustainable. The French and Romans had multiple similarities, one of which is that they both cared for livestock. Another similarity was that they would either trade or sell their products, which allowed both of them to enhance their cultural idealism, yet they also had their differences. For one thing, the Romans harvested roots and other things such as those, yet the French mainly focused on wine and cheese production. Another difference was that the Romans had to follow their food production system out of necessity, and the French chose their system due to them having an abundance of milk-producing livestock. The next thing I want to talk about is the food production system that I had been able to participate in, which had been the grow house type experience in front of the bioscience courtyard. During the time I participated in this experience, I had been able to remove and relocate a certain species of plant and then dig a certain style of planting. That species of plant that had relocated was mainly yucca plant, and the style of planting or digging that we had done was to make sort of a valley, so when the water would flow it would go down into the valley so it could water the whole circle. After we finished that style of digging, we had ended up planting certain herbs that will last year round. The next step would have been to plant pre-annual plants throughout the garden. This would have allowed us to harvest our little crops whenever they were ready. And once the crops were harvested, we could do various things with them. We could take them home or do whatever we wanted with them, basically. That's why this garden was basically created in the first place. There had been a major flaw in the food production system. That flaw had been the water that was readily available for the plants. The reason that this is flawed is that there had not been a watering schedule developed for the year, and there had not been any plan for how we water the plants during the summer. Some people have said that drip tubes would be enough, yet the majority of us have stated that would not be enough to sustain our plants. That's why we decided to water them by hand. So the big idea basically is that this system is not sustainable into the future because it is too reliant on us for it to be able to survive once again due to it needing to be watered by plants.